Hey everyone, it's Rod with Power Group. Welcome back on the Pursuit of Wealth, your home for MJ Stocks, crypto assets, and interviews. Today's Wednesday, June 7th. Happy hump day. Hope you're doing awesome out there, as well as you can be. We had some breaking news late yesterday that Fire&Flower has been granted creditor protection and will be going through bankruptcy proceedings as another blow to the industry as the tough times just continue to roll in. This was something we've been expecting for a while now. Many CEOs from different Canadian LPs, licensed producers, have been saying that there's over 1,000 LPs. There's tons of competition, not just in the producer space, but also in the retail space. And this is just something that I've been predicting for a while now, specifically with Fire&Flower, because the writing was on the wall. Personally, I never shopped there, and their prices were just completely out to lunch. And this is, again, just shows the competition in the space and how much consolidation is needed. And this is something I warned in one of my previous videos, was that we could continue to see the sector get demolished because of the fact that bankruptcies could be coming down the pipeline, and we could see more and more happen with producers as well. With over 1,000 LPs, that's just not sustainable. But before we get to it, make sure to smash the like, help support me, and the channel doesn't cost you anything. If you're new, you can subscribe, take the bell, you'll be notified on any future videos or when I go live. Getting very, very close to that 500,000 view mark on the channel. So I appreciate each and every one of you that have supported me along the way. That was definitely not easy. And like I said, it definitely does not go unnoticed. I appreciate all the support. So this was an article from MJ Biz Daily back on May 30th. We were told that MJ retailer Fire&Flower was reviewing strategic options. So this was a little bit of an indicator and clue that we could potentially see this come down the line at some point. And sure enough, late yesterday, Matt Lamers, international editor here from MJ Biz Daily, reported that MJ retailer Fire&Flower has been granted creditor protection after significant net losses. And again, this just continues to be a trend right now. And it said that anywhere from 30 to 40% of licensed producers' revenue are going towards federal taxes. While the government does have to get their piece of the pie, that is just insanely high, right? That's not sustainable. So hopefully, at the very least, heart goes out to Fire&Flower, those that are losing their jobs. There's going to be a lot of jobs as a result of this that are lost, and then a lot of investors and things like that that just continue to get kicked in the stomach while they're down. So first and foremost, my thoughts go out to those affected by this. But unfortunately, this might not be the end of it. And there's so much competition right now. I would say High Tide, which is, Canna Cabana, and there's Nova Cannabis. There's also Value Buds, right? The discount retailer. Those probably single-handedly put Fire&Flower out of business. And this was something I've been saying for a while now, that I expected that Fire&Flower would probably go the way of the dodo, right? But just because of the mass competition. But here's the article here. Fire&Flower Holdings and its MJ subsidiaries have received an initial order for creditor protection from the Canadian court after raking up significant net losses of more than $200 million since 2018. The Toronto-based company said it was granted the order by Ontario Superior Court of Justice under the Companies Creditors Arrangement Act, CCAA, allowing it to maintain the status quo and consult with stakeholders with a view to continuing operations. To that end, the court approved Fire&Flower's debtor in possession loan of $9.8 million from an affiliate of Alimentation Couche-Tard, a large Canadian operator in convenience stores which owns a stake in the MJ retailer. In a news release, Fire&Flower said creditor protection allows the company to work with the monitor, FTI Consulting Canada, to streamline its operations and conduct a court-supervised sales process to obtain a going concern for its operations and maximize the value of its assets. The debtor in possession loan is expected to fund its operations during this process. Fire&Flower is only the latest in flood of Canadian MJ companies turning to Canada's corporate insolvency law. Between January 1st and December 22nd, 2022, 14 of the 35 CCAA filings in Canada involve companies operating in the MJ space in one way or another. And if we bring up the Canadian bankruptcies here from Trading Economics, you can see here bankruptcies in Canada decreased to 255 companies in April from 331 companies in March of 2023. And with the trying economic times and rising interest rates, this is something that could continue, not just in the Canadian space, but as a whole. But obviously the Canadian MJ space is just getting absolutely bombarded by just competition. And again, so much consolidation is needed. And I just did a video yesterday on some consolidation with regards to Tilray and some speculation whether or not they could potentially acquire VFF. VFF had an hourly bull flag today, and it's seeing some decent upside. But again, I think that the times are tough and the writing's on the wall. We need more consolidation. There's probably going to be a lot more bankruptcies before the Canadian government gets its act in order. And unfortunately, that's just the lay of the land right now. And like I said, there could be more retailers, right, especially mom and pop shops. And then we could potentially see producers go extinct, right? Or, potentially merge with other companies or just go bankrupt. Unfortunately, it's just the lay of the land right now, and I can't see anything changing until the U.S. government is something completely different. But if we can get that, that'll obviously help share price, but it's not going to help profitability for the Canadian companies. We need the Canadian government to get their in order and start to support this industry. Even the federal government has said themselves that it's time that they get caught up and support the MJ industry, right? It's almost 5 years now for recreational legal here in Canada. And like I said, it's still said that some 30-40% of revenue of producers' revenue is going to federal taxes. So this needs to change, and hopefully this will wake them up. Fire&Flower has more than 90 corporate-owned stores in its network. So again, definitely feeling a heavy heart today for those that are going to be affected by this. The company had approximately 618 full-time employees and 806 part-time employees at the end of 2022. And that's not a low number. So again, these are real people's lives that are at stake here. And again, this is just a testament to the trying times, right? It's not just producers, it's not just retailers, it's everything here in the MJ space. And it's time that we reach out to our representatives and let them know that we need change. Things have to change. Last week, Fire&Flower said it's reviewing strategic options, which I mentioned, including financing options, as the company requires more funding to continue doing business. In a May 15th regulatory filing, Fire&Flower management stated that its ability to continue as a going concern depended on increasing revenues, improving profitability and cash flows, availability of funding from debt, warrants, and other capital market alternatives. And again, the more the producers don't have to pay federal excise taxes, right, the more that's going to help the retailers as well, right? So this is it's all a win-win scenario if we can get the federal government on board. After the review, the directors of the company determined that it was in the best interest of the company to file an application for creditor protection under CCAA, per the news release. In a factum submitted to the court, Fire&Flower said its significant net losses largely stemmed from MJ retail operations. They cited increased competition and operating costs and margin pressure. Regulatory restrictions suffered by the companies and the MJ industry generally have collectively contributed to significantly lower revenues and higher costs than what the applicants expected their MJ retail stores would face, according to the company's filing. Fire&Flower said it has lost money every year since 2018. In the fiscal years ended January 29, 2022 and December 31, 2022, respectively, Fire&Flower and its subsidiaries lost $45.4 million and $83.4 million. Fire&Flower's net losses also include more than $25.2 million for the fiscal year ended February 2nd, 2019, more than $35.6 million for fiscal 2020, and more than $17.5 million for fiscal 2021. For the quarter ended March 31st, 2023, the company said it had a net loss roughly of $8.7 million. So you can see it just continuing to deteriorate slowly but surely. And in its filing, Fire&Flower said its cash position continually deteriorated over the course of the past 2 years. As of January 30th, 2021, the company and its subsidiaries had $30.6 million in cash. 1 year later, the total had fallen to $19.8 million. As of March 31st this year, Fire&Flower and its subsidiaries had $8.2 million in cash and more than $50.8 million in current liabilities. That position only deteriorated further since then, according to the filing. Some of the other subsidiaries named in the court order were Friendly Stranger Holdings, which Fire&Flower acquired for approximately $24.6 million in 2020, Pineapple Express Delivery, which was purchased for roughly $7.2 million in 2021, and Highfire, a digital retail and analytics platform. Fire&Flower shares trade as FAF on the Toronto Stock Exchange. And you can see here on that chart, we fell over 98%. So again, it's not just Canadian LPs. We've got producers in the US as well that are down 80-90% plus from their February 2021 highs or all-time highs. And then we've got retailers as well. And like I said, High Tide and, I would say probably High Tide and Value Buds were single-handedly one of the main reasons why Fire&Flower, because of that competition, right? Because that value segment just completely eating into their business, right? And just taking away customers. And they couldn't keep up. And down over 98%. We had the all-time high monthly record volume as well last month in the month of let me just bring that up here. Yeah, that was in May. So we had a little bit of a precursor there. We had all-time high record bear volume, and we closed near the low there. So like I said, it's just been a straight fall. We were well below the 10-week moving average, nowhere near our weekly moving averages. And then on the daily time frame, look how far we are away from our daily moving averages after we had that death cross back here in, let's see what when that was, when the 50 was above the 200, came down and crossed. Looks like that crossed in August of 2021, which is really when we started to see that selling pressure pick up. So again, heart goes out to those affected by this. That's a lot of employees and lives that were affected by this news. And like I said, unfortunately, it's probably not going to be the last in this slew of bankruptcies that we could potentially expect here over the next, probably a couple of quarters, maybe even a few quarters, where we see a lot of mom and pop shop retailers go out of business. Unfortunately, it's just the way it is. It is what it is until the government gets their act in order here in Canada. I mean, it's been almost 5 years. It's time that we change, right? And then producers over 1,000 LPs, just brace for impact, because there could be more buying opportunities and mergers and acquisitions and insolvencies in the space. But let me know your thoughts and opinions in the comments below if you were affected by this. Hopefully you'll be able to reach out to some of the other retailers in the space, and hopefully they're able to provide some employment there for those that were affected by this, because this is tragic. But going to end it there. Thanks again for joining us on the Pursuit of Wealth. It's Rod with Powell Group. Like the video if you can, share it, and again, just keep your head up, and we'll get through this together as a community. All right, take care. See you on the next video.